All right. My name is Philip Ballew, as he graciously said, and we are talking about practical applications for the Ubuntu user. Now, if you weren't familiar, I'm a Ubuntu community member, so part of the global larger community, such as other people have talked about, just like Jono talked about before lunch, if you were at that talk, joint author to the recent Ubuntu official guide. Pick it up on any website, or I think they have them at the one of the booths out there this weekend at the Expo Hall, which opens in an hour, so you might want to check that out later. And an all-around cool person as well, so welcome aboard. So I want to paint a scenario in your head. You've recently just installed Ubuntu. Perhaps you're fairly computer savvy, perhaps not. Perhaps you're interested in becoming more computer savvy. I would assume, as we are people at SCaLE, we have a fairly legitimate understanding of what's going on in the computer world as well as Linux world. So first off, no matter how new you are to Ubuntu, welcome to the world of loving your computer. Too often I think that people with their computer owns them. But I feel like when I have Ubuntu on my computer, I own my computer. I'm in charge of what's going on with it typically. And that's definitely one of the things that I like to do. However, when I first get in front of my computer, I might think to myself, well, there's a lot of things I want to do. I want to run this, and this as soon as I get Ubuntu installed. But what I've come to learn is that before you change anything, see what Ubuntu has put on there for you and try and understand how you can make that your own. As Jono talked about an hour ago, the design team, the engineering team, and everyone under them have spent quite an amount of time trying to make Ubuntu the experience that it can be for every single user. Is that to say that there's not things that you're not going to want to expand upon? Of course not, and I'm going to get down to that deeper into my talk if we can continue down there, if you will. Now, if you're completely unfamiliar with Ubuntu, obviously we have the default internet browser of Firefox, and if you're unaware of that, you should look into the internet. It's a pretty exciting thing. However, maybe you've been using Firefox for a while and you want to think to yourself, well, what other exciting things can I do? I mean, maybe I'm not a computer programmer, maybe I'm not an incredibly technical user, but one thing you can do is you could upgrade to the Mozilla Nightly builds or the newer releases that might not be available. Obviously, I caution you if you're going to do something such as that, but you can always go on to the Launchpad page, add the PPA. How many of you are familiar with adding a PPA? All right, well, would anyone like to know how to add a PPA? If not, I can. All right, excellent. So you would go on, you can copy, then you would open up, sudo caps lock this one. Yes. Here, how about that right there? Sudo, then you would apt add repository, add the PPA that you recently copied from the Launchpad page. I'm not going to tell you my password. Add that in, then you would sudo apt-get update, and then sudo apt-get install the package that you want to install. I'm not going to go and install Firefox currently because I'm quite satisfied with the version that it is at. However, if you want to do that, come up and find me afterwards, and I'll even throw it onto your computer. Take me a couple seconds. Now, also you can do the same thing, here we are. Also, another thing we have is files, and the reason I put this slide up is I'll get into more alternative file browsers later in the talk. But if you're not familiar with files or Nautilus, as a lot of you are probably familiar with it in, if you're not dedicated to using the terminal like most of us, it's definitely something that's practical. However, we have the Office suite of LibreOffice, and occasionally I like to go up and I have to add the PPA, which is a little bit higher in the version number, which is always interesting. However, I can do the same for that. Let me go on. And these notes are in a Google Doc if anyone would like them afterwards. Find me and I'll add you to that, or I'll publish it, probably tweet it or something such as that. Text editor would be gedit. I'm not going to provide alternative text editors because I'm sure everybody has their preference for text editor, and that's really not going to be a good situation to break out into the best text editor. I mean, we could divide the sides up maybe down the middle, just occasionally. I mean, well, that is nice about Ubuntu. We have the ability. What I like about Ubuntu is it has the ability to be built for any user's level that they want it to be. It can be built for the beginner, or you can adapt it to be built for the hardcore Linux developer. That being said, there is the GNOME terminal, as for people who use other text editors or whatever it is that you do on the terminal. However, then, while you're using the terminal, you're also going to want to use Rhythmbox Music Player, which is the default music player. However, many people might not think that it has all of the qualifications or the customizability, so I'll go and expand into further ones later into the talk, if that is all right with you. But let me... Here, hold up. Where are we at? Come on. It is. It'll get down later into the talk if you guys are fans of that. Or if Rhythmbox doesn't load, we'll see what happens. Here we are, way down in here. So obviously you can... What I like about Rhythmbox is it's good for handling large groups, large amounts of music collections. However, if you like to be able to customize everything, it sometimes doesn't meet the features. But it's good for the average Ubuntu user who's probably not doing too much music library. What's up? I'm not entirely sure what the Rhythmbox development team is doing, but that is a good idea. I haven't thought of that before. I mean, I've got 4 or 5 playlists on my media server. I add new songs. Yeah. I have to add it all 4 out of 5 playlists. Interesting. Well, some music apps have that, but yeah. Well, that's the thing with a default app. A default app isn't meant to suit every single user's needs, because I mean, you don't want to have the default system be completely advanced in some way, especially with Ubuntu. So then now, as we've talked about some of the default apps, let me go into see what some of the actual alternative applications you can use. So some additional web browsers: Chromium, Chrome, Opera, always good. I don't know what anyone uses here personally. I tend to use Chromium and Firefox as well. What's interesting about Chrome, though, now is Netflix works with Chrome, which is, I don't know if you guys use Netflix or not, but definitely a fan myself. As well as this, we have we have the alternative file browsers. We have all of these, and let me see. Let's open up a couple of these. Do I got it? What am I looking for? Here's what I wanted to open. You always got Midnight Commander. Definitely the best. I'm not going to say definitely the best, because that would sort of... It's definitely a file browser that people can use. I mean, there's definitely... What's nice, I mean, because Ubuntu has all of the flavors, everything's just going to be in the repos, which is easily arguably able to take care of itself. Here, let's. Nice. It's not a talk unless the terminal gets broken out, right? We'll get back to that in a minute. It's about as simple as it gets. All right. That's enough for file browsers. We got more important things to move on to. So, though we'd love to spend our life in front of a file browser, I personally would rather myself, I don't know, would better spend in front of a terminal, but that's just me. And so, aside from additional file browsers, there's additional terminals. I like to use Terminator myself. I don't know what else you guys use. Feel free to add your input throughout the entire talk. But I like Terminator because I can divide it up into multiple terminals. I'm not doing tab terminals because I like keystroke commands, if you will. What we got here? You can even use the mouse, and you can go and split it horizontally, split it vertically. You know, until you can't see it anymore. I'm not going to do that because that would be pointless. But I believe it does. Yeah, you can. Is that? What was that? Oh yes, right there. So even more customizable as well. Here. Where are we at? Oh, LibreOffice, you pesky thing. Now, just like we talked about terminals, another alternative that you can have would be additional music players. And so, like we talked about Clementine, all of the ones above. I've been using Clementine lately. Banshee broke on me a couple days ago, so I need to learn how to fix that still. Clementine, let me show you guys that. That was not open. I'm going to activate. So, obviously what I like about Clementine, I've been using it for about the past week and a half, 2 weeks now, is it has the ability to organize a library very well. It seems like the best music player for organizing a larger library. I could be completely wrong on here. I usually use Amarok, I think is how you pronounce it. But I don't know. I used to use Kubuntu, so now I'm using regular Ubuntu. So they upgraded versions several years ago, and they changed a lot of their UI, I think, is what happened. I could be completely wrong in my memory, but that's what I remember. What was that? I haven't, actually. I'm sorry. What is it? Off the top of my head. And you can run Spotify through Wine as well, I believe. I think they have a beta Linux client as well if you do that. I think it off the top of my head. But yeah. And so though we probably have other things to do productive, we might listen to music while we're doing productive things. One thing that I also like to do when I'm able to take a break might be to play some games. And so one of my favorite games to play, obviously, is Dilbert's Desktop Games, but that's not available for Linux yet, unfortunately. One day. However, recently we have had the addition of Steam, which is very nice. Total, in the entire Steam universe, there's 3,700 games with 100 million users. though the 100 million users are not Linux users, what I like about that is it gives people who use Linux the ability to interact with that many more people who can see that they're running Linux, see that they're running Ubuntu, which is nice. And obviously some of the, what was that? Tell your friends. Tell your friends when you're chatting with them. Problem solved. Change your username to I love Linux. Yeah. Linux noobs beware, right there. Yeah, exactly. I think we should all do it right now. What's up? See? Right there. Yes. It's increasing every single day. I mean, I'm not entirely sure what it is today, because with the Steam box coming out, it's more and more, which I have no idea when the Steam box come out in the next couple of years, I believe. A lot of the bigger games, though, are supported. Yeah. Yeah, he'll give a talk eventually. Yeah, Humble Bundle's another mention I could throw in. I didn't put a slide for that, but Humble Bundle is nice if you guys have ever done that. That runs through Steam, I think, some of the time. Yeah. What was that? Okay. I haven't bought Humble Bundle in about a year and a half. Maybe I should do that again. That is true, actually. I mean, I could show you some of those if you guys like afterwards or now. It doesn't really. So obviously some of the Steam games would be Portal. If you guys are unfamiliar, have never played Portal, that's unfortunate. I played it several times, and it was quite the thrill. I'm very excited right now. Possibly. What was that? There's even a hole on the screen right there. Maybe that's where they get the name. Half-Life 2, which is always fun. I've played that several times. I'm really bad at video games, by the way. I mean, I'm one of the people who dies in about 5 seconds. What's up, Mickey? Wow, okay. Huh. Interesting. 700 something. Maybe it's closer to 1,000 now even. Who knows? Yeah. Alright. Yeah, I'm one of the people who dies in about 5 seconds. You'll see me on the live games, and I'm just running around looking at all the sites, and I get shot, and I'm the guy no one wants on their team. But it's fun. Another game, I went onto the Ubuntu Software Center, and even though I can talk about all the games I use, but I looked at the top rated games. Some of them were the Battle for the Westnoth Map Editor. I don't know that is top rated interestingly enough. I guess apparently people are using that, so good for them. Hedge Wars, I guess if we are into hedges, then Hedge Wars will be popular. I can paste download links for these as well, or find them in the Ubuntu Software Center if you guys are interested after the talk, or just search it on your laptops you have right now because you're not watching me talk. Pingus as well, also a free clone of the popular Lemmings game, which is not on Linux, but Pingus is. However, my favorite game, Super Tux Kart. Mascots of open source characters driving around looking like idiots. I mean, I wish I could do this in real life, but unfortunately, I mean, sometimes when I'm mad at Linux, I can just take Tux and drive him right off a cliff and feel better about myself. Now, then, also Minecraft, of course, if you're 5 or 12 years old here, or like to pretend like you're 12, like I have occasionally. I think what is it, $30 now, I think? I could be completely wrong. However, sometimes we finish playing games and we actually need to do productive things, like like editing video. Not that I am super knowledgeable at editing video, but every time I do need to edit video, I use OpenShot or Kdenlive. Do you guys ever edit video? A couple times. What do you guys use? Yeah. Kden's been coming up recently, I've noticed, for a lot of the stuff, and I've ever edited a video the past couple of years. Yeah. I'm not going to divide sections on which video editor is better. And there's other video editors as well out there if you guys have anything. Let me... You know, good luck with that. I could edit the video in a half an hour on this, but so easily nice. Is OpenShot here this year? They've had a booth the past couple years. I'm not entirely sure. It's pretty simple. I mean, okay. Yeah, well, feel free to download it. I always edit videos as I need to with this, which is nice, and then I can just grab the video with my webcam, throw it onto here, import some tools. What's nice about OpenShot, I've tried to do it, but I've never been able to officially get it looking cool, is to add effects from Blender inside the OpenShot video, and so it runs Blender in the background, and you can import and work with tools from Blender to import into your video, so you can have Blender effects, if you will, which is nice. Yeah, It's a nice feature. I enjoyed that whenever I've tried to work with it. I mean, I'm no professional video editor, but when I have, it works out pretty nicely thanks to OpenShot. Definitely another thing that some Linux users, such as myself, can use work on is editing pictures. So obviously there is the GIMP. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with the GIMP, I put the in there to make sure it didn't get corrected during the talk. But that worked out very well. So let me see if I have the GIMP open. We are not open. That's nice. Come on. There we go. Pretty easy. 2.8. I can edit a picture on here, but if you guys need help with that, come and let me know afterwards, and I can easily go over some things with you. All right. Now, another thing that sometimes I actually use this one all the time, which is Inkscape. How many of you are familiar with Inkscape? Perfect. So let's say you're an open source developer and you want to run a meetup. You're going to need to make flyers for your meetup. What are you going to do? You're going to use Inkscape. Of course, Spread Ubuntu. So how did the person from Spread Ubuntu make their flyer? Inkscape. And so on Inkscape, you can use vector graphics editing tools on here to make sure that everything works properly. Add layers, add effects. I don't even need to get into it. However, now we've seen all the software that you can use. You've seen all the things you can install, post-install. Imagine theoretically you've done all this, and you think, okay, I want to customize my system more. So let's talk about ways that you can actually custom GNOME tweak. There's other things that you can install as well, and I can talk about those later if anyone wants. But let's customize this system now, possibly. Where are we at? Here we are. So one of the nice things about the Unity tweak tool is you can have the ability to try and make Unity possibly fit any more specific needs that you have. And I'm going to try and live demo a couple of the things here, so wish me luck. Let's see, some of the things, an easy thing you can do is you can change your theme, which is not overly hard, except Unity is not. Give it a minute. Oh, there we go. You can change your theme if you want to. But I don't really like that theme, so we can try this one. Try this one. Change your icons. Anyone have a preference for what I should do here? All right, beautiful. What I like about this is because sometimes I just sit here and play around with it for 10 or 20 minutes, is as soon as I realize that I've screwed something up, I can go to restore defaults. If only everything on my computer had that function, unfortunately. You know, sometimes I don't have an hour and a half to spare, unfortunately. That would be nice, though. Date and time. Do the window switching commands, additional, the HUD. A lot of this stuff sometimes is available in the actual system settings, though, which I'd recommend looking at before you actually get into completely changing your system. However, perhaps definitely you may have changed your system and you've tried to change it. You may have found other tools, downloaded things, found something on the internet, completely had tons of fun, your system looks great, but then all of a sudden you've downloaded more applications, everything, and then you realize, shit, I just broke my entire laptop. What am I going to do? Well, you're probably going to be, if you're a new user, try and find some help online, which is not a bad thing to do, and that's what I would typically do myself as well. Now, start from... So, now that you've just broken your laptop, which I do not recommend doing, but trust me, I do this every other week, what I like to tell people, stop, relax, don't instantly try and do more things to fix the problem, because when you try and do more things to fix the problem in a rash way, that's going to make more problems for you to fix later on. Also, after you've done this, you're going to try and find the support that you need. So therefore, I think it's proper to ask the right support question. There are multiple ways that you can go and ask the right support question. What I recommend, obviously, well, first off, the right place to ask the support question would be Ask Ubuntu, typically, or the Ubuntu forums. How many of you are familiar with those places? If you're not, congratulations, your computer is never broken before. How so? Interesting. Okay. Yeah. There was, I think it was, yeah, there was, the forums had a security threat a couple years ago. Interesting. Probably email them again and see what's going on. They could probably reverse that if you need for something. Worth a shot, but, you know, whatever. Yeah. No. Absolutely. What I like about Ask Ubuntu compared to the forums myself is the right answer gets upvoted to the top. So I'm not going to go to these unopened answers unless anyone wants to help these poor souls. To where you would go on, I'm creating a text file in VI, change my computer. Might make Should have used Emacs. Idiots. No. So obviously the correct answer, or the most right answer, if you will, would get upvoted to the top. Because though Ubuntu Forms is nice, and quite frankly it solves a lot of my problems, because oftentimes people will go to Ask Ubuntu, and that's where all people go. People don't always go to the forums, because oftentimes I go to the forums, and I can find the question I need, but forums typically take more work, and you have to be able to read more in-depth to the problem to understand what's going on. Because what like a Stack Exchange or Stack Overflow-based system like Ask Ubuntu does is it gives you an answer where the forums tell you a story in many ways. In terms of you have to read page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. Because the problem with the forum sometimes is you find the answer that you want, but it was the answer from 4 months ago, so you have to keep reading and reading and reading. So this is at least my preferred method, if you will. So when your computer breaks after you've done all the things that I told you to do, go on to Ask Ubuntu. Your computer's actually not going to break, by the way. I was just saying that. But if it does. You know, we could listen to some music after if you want. We could have a dance party. Actually, let's not have a dance party if that's all right. However, when you ask the right support question for the forums, Ask Ubuntu, whatever it be, I always like to think that you need to ask a question that you yourself would be able to answer. There's a blog that I follow or have been able to follow. So let me pull that up. From like 2011, actually, or something. I threw this in the Google Doc if any of you guys want that, which was writing the perfect question. This guy talks about, he says, imagine you're trying to answer the question, which I thought was beautiful when I read this a couple years ago. Talks about how the question title should actually show what's completely going on, not help, my computer sucks. Include context in there, problem statement, simple code and data, spelling, grammar, and formatting. I'm really bad at my spelling, grammar, and formatting myself, so that's definitely something I could work on.
Once you fill that out, there's your story.
What was that?
Once you filled all of this out to get the perfect question,
yeah.
you have a story.
Well, because the problem with any type of support-based system is when someone goes to ask for help for their problem, oftentimes it takes further research to see actually what the problem is. Ultimately, that's the problem that you run into. Alrighty, let's see what's going on here. Come on. There we go. And one of the things that I like to recommend here, we're wrapping up here in just a minute, is as you try to make sure that everything that you are doing with Ubuntu is able to still remain Ubuntu, you still want to make sure that Ubuntu is your own. You want to make sure that because with Ubuntu, compared to other systems, that might not be featured at this convention here, or the expo here, you have control over your system and make sure it's going on. Don't be afraid to try new things with your computer. Don't be afraid to say, well, I haven't used this app before. Let me install that and see what's going on. And through this, you can explore as much software as you can. Because when you use the software, you might be able to in the future be able to get involved with the software project, maybe see what's going on with the software, and hopefully that can turn you into someone who might be a user, into someone who might be a contributor to the project. Because there's tons of ways you can contribute, and the first step to contributing is actually using the software. And so with that, I'd like to thank you for coming. All right.